Welcome to the Diversity Connector podcast, where we explore the rich tapestry of human experiences. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the country on which we meet today. I would also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging, and together as we dive into conversations that bridge cultures, challenge stereotypes, and celebrate the unique perspectives each of us brings to the table. Each episode is a journey through stories and insights from a kaleidoscope of voices, each sharing their colorful narrative. Whether you're at home, on the go, or just anywhere in between, you're now part of a community that values understanding, inclusivity, and the beauty of diversity. So plug in your headphones, get comfortable, and let's connect through the power of our shared stories. Welcome, and thank you for joining us on the Diversity Connector podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Diversity Connector. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating guest. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hi, Richard. Thank you so much for inviting me here for her story. My name is Eme, or Eme Diwa Rosa. I am on the lands of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nation, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past and present. I also want to acknowledge that land was never ceded and that it always was and always will be Aboriginal land. I also wanted to acknowledge that genocide has never stopped and that it continues every day. And that as settler immigrants or settlers, period, we need to use our privileges to stand alongside First Nations people here on this continent and also overseas. So where I'm at is about 10 kilometers north from Naarm, so Melbourne. I moved to this city during the COVID pandemic and to be with my older sister. And I lived in Eora Nation, Sydney, prior to coming here. And my immediate family migrated from the Philippines to the western suburbs of Rudy Hill and Blacktown, Darug country. It's where I spent my primary school and high school years. I then later moved out at the age of 19 to Wango country, which is in the west, Stanmore area. That's when I finished my Bachelor of Visual Arts degree and my honours year at SCA, at Sydney College of the Arts at University of Sydney. And my master's degree in 2021 when I came here. And I finished it at RMIT University. Right now, I'm currently working in a non-for-profit sector and arts industry. So right now, I'm working on my art practice, and my practice pretty much is based and runs on the interconnectedness of all beings, which is what we call Kapwa. So that's exactly what it means. It's Tagalog. It means that we're all equal. We're all family, and that we treat each other like family. it's not just a noun, it's a verb actually. You do it and you practice it. So that's kind of like the basis of my art practice. Uh, I usually experiment with photography, print media, installation. I did some hand building works for, especially for Sapa Salamesa, which is also, I create community cultural events for everyone to gather in the community. And that's part of like my honors year, the community culture events. And that is grounded on decolonization specific to the Filipinx diaspora and the Filipinx community, or Filipino. Um, yeah, and it's very socially engaged and participatory work. Right now, I finished last year of shooting. I have a collaboration with Trocadero Projects and Cariton Sorbetes. Cariton Sorbetes is a ice cream shop in Footscray. And Trocadero Art Space is an arts organization that kind of centers experimental and emerging artists to experiment and explore their artworks and art practices. A very also a welcoming space. I'm also a community member of Trocadero, where we are currently on the install period of an exhibition for Photo Festival and Midsummer Fest. Yeah, that comes out in April, and I'm very tired and very excited.
In your various professional roles and artistic expressions, how has identifying with they, them pronouns influenced your perspectives and approach to diversity and inclusion, particularly in the space of art and community engagement?
Yeah. How does it change my perspectives? And what was the second word?
So, how has identifying with the they, them pronouns influence your perspective and approach to diversity and inclusion, particularly in the space of art and community engagement?
Yeah. So for me, during that journey of, I guess in my honors year, that's when I really started to delve into the research, what's available anyway, of the diversity of gender and self-identification. And
Yes.
before, it's difficult because for me, I always thought I didn't identify with either. And so finding more research on the diversity of gender really helped me in sort of accepting myself. But also it's complicated because Tagalog, we have gender neutral pronouns as well. So
Okay.
so it's very colonial, I guess, to have that restriction. And our cultural histories, like we have leaders of our clans before were pretty much like trans women, women who were the leaders. So the babaylans, I think Catalonan is the term for Tagalog because we have very diverse and distinct ethnicities
Yes.
between each part or sector of sections in the islands of the Philippines.
Right.
So I, of course, didn't learn that in school or anything. I had to do my own research into my
Yes.
own history and culture to understand myself more. Um, yeah, so it's not like a this weird or this new thing really.
Yes.
Um, so it's really interesting when you really delve into the broader world history really, but your personal one as well. Um, it
That's
really
awesome.
broadens. Yeah.
So it would have made it easier for you then with family also already understanding that this is a way of being that doesn't even have to be questioned, right? Unlike most people in the Western culture who've been put in boxes from the day they're born, correct?
Yes and no, because we are all still colonized beings. Those notions of gender stereotypes are very much alive. Like I remember growing up, my mom would dissuade me from playing sports because it's not for girls, or because I used to love sports. That's all I did when I was a kid, and art, of
Right.
course. Um, yeah, and like harmful stereotypes like that, um, that still persist today. I mean, like for example, not my personal thing, but um, like for example, my tattoos or something. Um, it's in the if for Filipinos, it's more like if you go to jail, that's when people have
That's when
tattoos.
right, right.
Yeah, yeah. But it's also historically there's especially the Visayans. So when the Spaniards came, they called them pintados, which is the painted ones. So traditionally, our islands have always embraced uh, tattoos as a self and cultural expression. And of
Right.
course, at that time, it's more like if you do well in the community, I don't know, if you defend the community, the datus, the chiefs will get tattoos. So it's very
Okay.
contextual as well, of course.
Yes.
Um,
That's
but yeah,
interesting.
yeah, it's very. Oh, go on. Sorry.
I was going to say, so let's delve into diversity in art spaces. What
Mhm.
are the key challenges that you've encountered in advocating for diversity with visual arts and cultural projects? And how have you addressed them?
So one of the I think one of the big things in the art world is funding. There's
Yes,
not. It's very little, and of course that limits the way you move and the way that you can make it more accessible for your artists or even for your audiences. That's one, and of course that's a big one. Um, one of the other ones is I think it's it's very different because each person is very different and we all have different needs. And I think that it's important to come to people and artists and approach it in a very what's that word? A unique way. Like for
Right.
example, there are very many people with disabilities who are artists, and
Yes.
not one approach would, you know, fit for
Cater for
each
everyone.
person. Yeah, cater,
Yeah.
exactly. That's exactly
Yeah.
it.
That's true.
And yeah, and I think having that dialogue and continuous collaboration and transparency definitely helps.
That is the key. So, as an events coordinator, how do you ensure that your events are inclusive and cater to diverse audiences, like you've just mentioned?
I think it's in every aspect of your actual event. Um, for example, like you know how people they have their target audience, um,
Yes.
and a lot of organizations do try to target, culturally diverse folks, people who are marginalized. Um, but do we actually make it safe, make it easy for them to come in to your events, to into your space? And I think
Right.
creating from the start to the finish, even after it finishes, like evaluation, um, it should be considered, uh, their perspectives and consultation, I think.
Yes. Those are the key
Yeah.
things. Everything should be done in consultation. So, how does your
Community.
approach to art and cultural projects reflect and celebrate diverse perspectives and experiences?
For my art stuff, really, I think about at the start, I think about, what really, even though I work with communities, but it's communities that I fit into mostly, most of
Right.
my projects. And so I have already an idea, like for example, the Usap and Salamesa project, which is talking at the table, and that was for my honors year at SCA. That was very much me researching the decolonial, pretty much literature and work out there. So, but then it's also very community based. So I would have consultations with the artists around me, the people around me, my family, because they ended up being very, very involved.
Okay.
My aunties and my mom, they were the chefs. So that wasn't even the plan. The plan was like, oh, everyone will contribute, bring a dish that Filipino dish that they love, and that is
Yes.
very specific to their to where they're from, where they originate from, and sort of like a potluck thing, and then we can
Okay.
discuss and yeah, have dialogue. So that the event itself is like, yes, we're having free food and dining in together and singing
Right.
together and dancing together, whatever performances that was on the programs at that time. But it's also the communal dialogue that happens after we've been
Yeah.
fed and stuff, and we talk about everything um, that concerns our communities. Uh, I think yeah, it's very much clouded in my own route of what I'm trying to find out, really. Like
Okay.
I I had this We Matter, and it's about everyday sexism, sorry. And that was because I experienced it as a young young person growing up, and I wanted to get in
Yes.
the root of it. And this was very like when I was 19. But yeah.
Okay. So, what strategies do you employ to engage and involve diverse communities in the arts and in non-profit events?
Strategies. Um, um, mm, I I don't think there's like um actual like terms, you know how there's like terms for you just I just literally bring about um again the community consultation aspect of when I'm approaching it. And I think
Okay.
that um it's also in regards to the actual event itself, depending on the event itself. Um, of course, I see so many like research in the demographic, um, but I think it's more important for like the ground. Like if I'm like I was doing that event for Usapan, it's more like, oh yes, Filipinos. Um, and I grew up in Western Sydney, so there's many of us that grew up there.
Mm-hmm.
I would target that area, I guess, but also be in community and go to the actual social events that we have to meet more of the
Right.
aunties and uncles and kind of research in a way that um, that it's not that's not pure just transactional. I like
Yeah.
to have a relationship with people I work with and doing projects with, more collaborative and reciprocal.
So the essence of what I'm hearing is that your people are very communal based in the way that they interact with each other, and that's what's transferred in how you relate to people in the workplace, correct?
Yes, definitely. That's
Yeah,
that's exactly it.
yeah. That's awesome. So, as a finance officer, I know you were involved as a finance officer. How do you consider diversity and inclusion in financial decision making for art organizations?
For me, I think everyone should get paid. I know we get little funding, but the importance of it, every single person in the project needs to get paid. Um,
Yes,
that's personal as well as like a organization that I work with has that kind of ethos as well, which is amazing, and that's
right.
why I love it. Yeah. Um, yeah,
It's an exchange of
that's pretty much
energy for the effort that's been put into the work being done, right?
yes, yes.
Uh,
Workers' rights, important. Our livelihoods are important.
So, can you share an example of a project where you've been successful in championing diversity and inclusion that you're really proud of?
Mm. Um, I mentioned it before, but Usap and Salamesa, there was three that happened between 2019 throughout the year. The first one is just starting out, so it was very small. But the last one was held at Burj Gallery. So I was invited to um, to hold Usapa La Mesa there, and there was so many people that came through, and I was extremely proud, of course. And my parents, yeah, my parents came, but my mom brought in the food, of course, and my aunties as well. Um, I brought in activists and poets, writers, filmmakers to talk. Really, we couldn't. I didn't decide on because my aunties and my mom would usually do like a cultural dance. And for
Yes.
me, being like gallery spaces are like, the white gaze comes into play. And the way I wanted to protect my aunties and my mom from that gaze, I didn't want them to perform because they're not performers, they're sharing their cultural experience, and it's not something to be dissected. So I chose to, invite um, speakers at that event, and it was pretty amazing. We all had a diverse group of people, definitely, from different
That's awesome.
nationalities and identities.
So, based on your diverse experiences, what advice would you give to aspiring artists and event coordinators on how to effectively embrace and promote diversity in their work?
Yeah. My advice for events coordinators and artists would be to question everything that you're doing, question yourself critically, as well as obviously yourself and org and the project. Why are you doing this? Why now? Do you need to reach out to people, uh, the people that you're going to be doing the project for, or um, maybe the theme of the event or exhibition? There are many, many people, elders out there that are knowledgeable or that are really concerned with that, and you can collaborate and have a uh, more beautiful experience, a more authentic experience for everyone, not just yourself, and it'll be more successful in
Yes.
that way. Yeah, and have fun and just be yourself, really, as well. I think a lot of people get scared that they'll be judged um,
Yeah.
or
There's always
won't
that.
be accepted. Yeah, yeah, but yeah.
Okay, so let's finish our interview with taking you back to the younger you, that young person who was struggling with their identity, finally decided to come out. If there is a young person who's listening to this podcast right now, based on what life has taught you, what three nuggets of wisdom would you give them?
Um, keep going. That's one. That's one nugget. I I honestly didn't think I would be alive beyond my teenage years. It was really rough and violent. Grew up in violent environments, and I didn't think I was very, very shy and very keep to myself kind of person and tender. Like I would talk to plants and stuff like that. I mean, I don't. I'm animistic, so like uh, energies and spirits couldn't express before. So like yeah, life is really, really hard, even though it's really, really, really hard. Just keep going. That's actually one of my friends that gave me that advice when I was going through depressive episodes, PTSD, and all that. And I'm doing way better. You can too.
Fantastic. That is awesome. Thank you so much for coming online and sharing your story, your knowledge, your art with us today. It's been an absolute honor getting to know you and delving into your world. Thank you so much. I've got your website at the bottom of the screen. Is there anything upcoming that people can be aware of so they can follow you through social media?
Oh yes, I will have my solo. Oh, not solo actually. My exhibition in April at 40 Leeds Street, Footscray. Um, yeah, I'm currently working on that. hopefully I'll see you there. Say hello.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Diversity Connector is a platform that celebrates our differences, bringing you voices and stories from people from all over the world. So tune in again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And Eme, thanks again for the interview.
Thank you, Gertrude.
Bye for now, everybody. And that's a wrap, everybody, on today's episode of the Diversity Connector podcast. Thank you for tuning in and being part of our vibrant and global conversation. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a tapestry of diverse perspectives. Remember, every story you've heard today is a thread in the larger fabric of our shared humanity. So, as you step back into your world, carry these stories with you and let them inspire you to embrace and celebrate the rich diversity around us. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these inspiring stories with more listeners. Do follow us on social media by looking for the Diversity Connector podcast for more updates. Until then, keep connecting, keep listening, and keep celebrating the beauty of diversity. This is the Diversity Connector podcast signing off. Stay curious, stay open, and definitely